Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Triangle BNI. My name is Mike Manning. And each week we bring you small business success stories from the BNI chapters in the Triangle area. And if you're not familiar with BNI, it stands for Business Networking International. I'll get it going here. It is nationwide. Our little slice of heaven in the Triangle, Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill, have 29 chapters working hard right now. Six core groups trying to get to a full size chapter of 17 members. And there's about 600 BNI members in the Triangle. So we have a lot of good stories. We bring you one each week. And our guest today is Trinity Gregor with Rowe Realty. She is in RD18 Connections in Motion, where she is part of the membership committee. And RD18 meets at Red Hot and Blue on Falls every Thursday at noon. And Trinity, glad to have you here today. And I like Red Hot and Blue because the barbecue is good. So, and it's a fun group that
And
meets.
we have an amazing way.
Oh, boy,
Props to Rod.
yeah, because they're good when you don't hear them.
Yeah.
And he comes and walks in. It can be a tight area sometimes, especially on visitor days.
Yep.
But yeah, it's like an umpire in a baseball game or referee in a football game. Oh, we never saw you on camera. Oh, you must have been doing good. So no, he does take good care because there was 22 or 23 last week, something like that in the meeting. So we like that. So anyways, if you're out and about, we recommend that you go visit a chapters, wonderful stories, wonderful people. If you or someone you know is starting a business or trying to grow a business, we ask you to come visit so you can understand what that's like and meet a bunch of good people. All right. So residential realtor, Rowe, you've been with them since 2011 in a couple different roles. Yes. So you're still young is what that tells me. So we are the Monday, Easter Monday. How's business so far this year for you?
Hot.
Good. This time versus April this year versus April last year. What is there anything different?
Well, I now have a year under my belt of
Okay.
selling full-time, so
Mm.
pipeline is moving along, so I'm
Yeah.
much busier volume-wise,
Okay.
which should happen. If it doesn't,
Yeah.
something wrong. Market-wise, still the same story.
Okay.
Low inventory for homes under 350,000, and a whole lot of really good deals out there still.
Is it what I heard? What did I hear a couple weeks ago at a meeting? That is it still the 150 to 300 range that nothing stays on the market long?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Multiple offers within a matter of hours.
Okay. And they're selling 10% over listing price?
At least.
Man,
Yeah. Seem
that's
to be
amazing.
ready.
Then the 350, 400,000 and up, is there inventory and it just doesn't move as fast, or there's not a lot there still?
So there's a lot more inventory. Um, all the new construction that's being built is being built in the $400,000 plus range. So there's a lot of new homes that are for
Okay.
sale. And then there's just less buyers in that pool. So they're
Yeah.
building more inventory. There's less demand for it, supply and demand. Yeah.
That's their math.
Uh-huh.
If there's 40 buyers out there, we build 5,
Right.
the number will be good
Yeah.
and everybody will be happy except the buyers.
Exactly.
But that's all over the Triangle. Well, let me ask it this way. Most of Raleigh and Cary is probably landlocked, which is why Apex, Holly Springs, and then Wake Forest the other way. Fuquay, yeah, that's the other place.
Nightdale, Wendell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to drive a bit.
I've learned more cities in North Carolina.
Yeah, now you don't need your GPS as much, right?
No, I am a human GPS.
Oh, yeah, Smith Avenue in Youngsville. Oh, I've been drove by there last week, so.
Am I not talking?
No, you're fine. Now we're good. So okay, so Rowe. I love your story on how you got to Rowe, but I
By
learned
accident.
and we'll get to that. But you were kind of doing the training and development at Northwestern Mutual.
Yep.
Was that position open when you got it, or did they like what you had done before that on why you're so good at training people and stuff like that?
I started there as the receptionist.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. I moved down here on a whim for love.
Yes.
And
you're still in love. So yes.
yeah, I am with a different guy, but still here.
See, those are the stories why we're so much fun to watch.
But yeah, I got that job through a temp agency. And
After you had moved down here?
and the temp agency called me back and said they want to hire you full time. So I went back 3 weeks on the reception desk. Director of First Impressions is what I named myself.
I like that.
And they said, we feel that you're being a little underutilized and what would you like to do? And I said, well, I see a girl over there and I want her job. And they're like, great, she's actually leaving. She'd accepted a different role. So I was able to apply for that job. And then within a few weeks, I went back to my managing partner and said, um, whatever she was doing in 40 hours a week, I'm getting done in about 10.
Yeah.
So they handed over the client relations center, and I just started teaching these agents how to convert business that hadn't been there.
I do love your confidence, but it's worked, right?
Yeah,
I mean, just if you know you can do it, I try to tell people if you can do it and prove you can do it, it's not bragging. Hey, I do these numbers, whatever they are, every
right.
week. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not bragging.
No, and it's a lot of hard work.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
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 The people, it,
It sounds easy now, but
it does right.
it wasn't easy.
Well, and a lot of my analogies are in sports, and you see
Uh-huh.
Jordan and Tiger and all these people. God, they make it look so easy, but they're the ones first in and last out,
Right.
which is why that's how they make it look easy.
Uh-huh.
And it's the same thing in
Exactly.
anybody's business, you know.
Yeah.
But you got to learn that and then perfect it,
Mhm.
and then go, okay, ready for some more.
Right.
All right. So if you've never been to a BNI meeting, each week there is a featured speaker, and depending on the size of your group, it's either 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I know yours is 10 minutes for your
Mhm.
chapter. And each week, that member is introduced by the member bio sheet. So we're going to start there, Trinity, okay?
Right.
So our speaker today, Trinity Gregor, not Gregory, which is I handed her a name badge one day and it had Gregory. She goes, "This is wrong." What do you mean, Trinity? Right? No, there's no Y on Gregory.
Mhm.
So learn that. Who did um who's HVAC lady?
Shelley.
Shelley.
Yeah.
I did the same thing with hers, and I didn't know there wasn't an S on the back of hers because I really only met her once or twice. She
Mhm.
goes, and then she gave me the funny line to a husband. Hey, why don't you just take your fingernail and just scrape off the S? I'm like, I don't have any. So she just scraped off the S, and so
Oh.
we're good to go. But
She
hey,
didn't make you reprint a new one like I did.
no, once I found out that I think yours is a little different. I don't know if we could have scraped off the one, but anyways, but it was funny. Business name, Hunter Rowe Real Estate.
Mhm.
How many, agents now? Yeah, 100?
Uh, 25 or so.
Oh, okay.
So,
You guys do a lot of work then for 25
well, we
people.
have licensed real estate agents. It's closer to 50.
Okay, right.
Right.
How many different offices?
2, Raleigh and
Oh, the Durham one. Okay,
Mhm.
why did I think there was a third? Okay. Well, like I say, I've been to both of them
Because
then.
we're always recruiting and
There you go.
working on
There
it.
you go. Location, the one in,
I'm based
y
out of Raleigh.
yeah, your chapter is on,
Falls the News.
right,
Mhm.
in not Strickland, Falls and Howard, I think right there.
Oh, my office is off of Howard and Creedmoor.
Creedmoor, that
I
was it,
thought you
okay.
were talking about my BNI group.
No, but we'll
Yeah.
get to that though.
Mhm.
And then the Durham, one is 50
It's off of
it's at the end
751.
yeah, 751. It's at the
Mhm.
corner there by
Yeah.
the okay, I've been to there.
Real estate alley, they call it,
Oh,
because there's
really? Well, there's one
8 real estate companies over there.
yeah, because when you're coming off of 40 on 751, right where it gets to I think it's like the intersection where you curve to the right and
Mhm.
that BP station is right there. There's one
Yeah.
here's a big house.
They always have cheap gas.
Oh, I know.
That's, like, one of the cheapest.
Yeah, well, it's funny now, I found yeah, my place was on South Saunders, and it was always 15 cents a gallon cheaper until about the last month and a half now. Everybody's in that
Yeah.
270 range, so, previous types of jobs. Now, here's what I clarify everybody with. I got your work history, and
Yeah.
you're so young, it's like 3 hours, 3
Oh,
weeks old,
thanks.
so I wanna hear the story from high school that was a memorable job, either good or
Mhm.
bad, that's a good story to tell, or in
Um,
college, either one.
yeah. My most memorable job from high school, would be I worked at a golf course.
Okay.
Um, I got that job because I had started working at McDonald's and realized that that was not going to pay the bills. And man, working on that golf course, I learned a lot.
Mhm.
I learned that I should have taken golf lessons when they were provided to me because I didn't. But when I started working there, I was the halfway house girl.
Mm,
And that means that there's not a beer cart.
very popular.
Yep,
Yep.
people come, they meet you halfway, sodas, hot dogs, beers. But on Tuesdays is when the women golf,
Okay.
and everybody hated serving the women golfers because they were notorious bad tippers.
Huh.
Yeah. So no one ever wanted to work on Tuesdays, and I sucked it up and went out there one Tuesday and just started talking to the
Yeah.
ladies
Yeah.
and just befriending them. And before I knew it, I was on that shift every Tuesday. And those women found out I was going to Spain to study abroad, and they created my Malaga Pearl Fund. And I made more money on Tuesdays than all the other people. So I took
Yeah.
something that was like
Yeah.
everyone else hated, and then I kept it as my little secret.
Yeah, and then you can
Yeah.
lie there. Yeah, you
I
wouldn't
was
even
like,
wanna work on
yeah,
Tuesday.
they make me work on
Well,
Tuesdays.
it's funny you say that because I moved back to Raleigh. I grew up here, moved away for 30 years, I know, and came back, and I ran the AMF Bowling Center in Durham, and when I
I wish
first
I'd known you.
I enjoy it. I'm with you. I just love talking to people
Yeah.
and make friends and all this stuff. And so when I took the job on the second day, some of my staff would tell me, "Oh, you won't want to talk to the senior bowlers in the morning. They don't smile, they don't wave or anything." It took me a day to figure out why, because nobody else was nice to them.
Yeah.
Just start saying good morning and asking about them, learning, and so before you know it,
They
it's a,
love you.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
go and
And then
listen
you
to.
can't stop them.
Yeah, there was a girl on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, the Duke PE class would come over to AMF for the
Okay.
students.
Yeah.
There were no bowling alley on
On
campus.
campus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they'd come over Tuesday and Thursday about 1:30. And the old guys, the bowlers felt like they still had some game. So one Tuesday, she was either a volleyball player or a basketball player. She was about 6'2" and a half, 6'3", just a beautiful, beautiful girl. And she walked in from the far door in the parking lot out to down past everybody to about lanes. They had like 5, 6, 7, 8. And this girl walked in, and all these old guys. You could just see the turn of the head. And I ran down there and gave those guys some great boys. You got nothing for her. Trust me. You may think you do, but you got nothing for them. But it's the same thing. You got to know
Yeah.
them a little bit. And that's
Yep.
how every Tuesday and Thursday afternoons
Yeah.
became, not just giving each other a load
Just
of crap. Yeah.
yeah.
It was a lot of
I
fun.
love it.
Family information. We know you are engaged
I
to a
am.
lucky man,
He's amazing.
and he knows how lucky he is, right?
He does.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He tells me daily.
He should. He
Mhm.
should. No kids.
Not yet.
Right. Yeah. I was going to
Someday,
let you say
hopefully.
that. I wasn't
Uh-huh.
going to, yeah, because it's not my place to say, why not, animals, 2 dogs.
2 dogs,
What kind?
fur babies. Mutts. So
Perfect.
Elvis
Yep.
is I don't know.
Yeah.
He looks like Santa's little helper.
You got a beard.
He's a little race dog. Yeah, he's going gray.
Is
It
he?
makes me sad. But he's awesome. He's the dog that all my friends got dogs because they thought he was so cool. But I'm
Okay.
like,
Yeah,
but he just likes to snuggle and
there
hang
you go.
out. And then there's Carlos, who's 2, but still acts like 6 months old. And he's wild. He's a wild man.
Are you guys
Yeah.
music fans?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
My first dog's
Santana?
name was Journey.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is
I
Carlos
have it.
after Carlos
Yeah.
Santana? Okay.
Uh-huh.
Good. All right,
Yeah.
very good. I got,
Because
see?
he's half Mexican. He's a Chihuahua and Yorkie. He's a short.
I don't
Yeah.
know if I've ever seen that
I like to
combination.
call him a Chihuahua because I think that sounds better than Shorty.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. Hobbies and activities of interest.
None.
Liar. You had 9 things listed. Don't
I
tell me
know.
none. Give me 3 of them.
Oh,
I
gosh.
know you like
I
to read,
read
and
a
you like to
lot.
write.
Yes,
You're
I
getting
like to
into that.
read, like to write.
Play
Um,
kickball.
I play kickball.
Okay.
I like being outside. So anything hiking, camping, boating,
Yeah.
being on the water. Somebody asked me recently how I managed to do everything that I do. And I said, well, I haven't had kids yet.
Mhm. How about
So I
some of
have
that? Yeah.
time.
Plus, you're
And then
very
there's time.
organized and structured too. That I've
Yes.
learned
Yeah.
about you.
Yeah. I am.
Okay.
Have to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I
Well,
would
yeah.
forget
Yeah, with
everything.
everything you're doing, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I have a lot of hobbies.
City of residence, you live in Raleigh.
No, do not.
My bad.
Your stalking wasn't very good.
I should pay better for people to follow you.
I represent Durham. I live in Durham.
Why did I see Raleigh? Okay.
Yeah. I used to live in Raleigh. I owned 2 houses in Raleigh before I moved to
Oh,
Durham.
okay, well, then update your
Mhm.
bio. That's not on me
Yeah,
this
that's
time,
okay.
okay?
That's all right.
Your burning desire is to
I don't know, not mess up on this podcast.
I think we can cut this now. Yeah. You're doing fine, but I can make the questions harder if
Yeah.
I'll make you feel better, okay?
My burning desire is to create a better community.
Mhm,
I'm very passionate about making sure that the places that I live
mhm.
and the people that I'm with are connected to other people
Yes. You are you chase that every day, though,
every
connecting
day.
people.
Yeah.
Good. The key to your success.
Perseverance,
I like it.
not giving up when things go wrong, and always surrounding myself with people who are way smarter than I am.
Yes, I tell people every time, if you're the smartest one in the room, find a new room
Yep,
because you'll learn nothing.
completely.
Yeah, so I'm with you on that. My favorite question,
Oh gosh.
something now some people watching today haven't gotten to
Mhm.
know you yet, but they will by the end of the hour. Uh, something no one knows about you.
That's a really hard question. I'm pretty much an open book,
What did you talk
but
what was your answer last time you
oh,
spoke?
I'm shy.
Yes.
Mhm.
All right, we'll get to
Yeah,
that. You'll see, folks, that she is not, but
I
she'll tell
am.
you she is,
Yeah,
but
I really am.
she's learned well. So, all right. So we are here with Trinity Gregor, Rowe Real Estate. She is in RD18. They meet Thursdays at noon, Red Hot and Blue on Falls. You started with Hunter Rowe as Director of Selection and Development. Now, before I ask that question, did you come up with that title?
I did.
Okay. And I will tell this story that you and I have done an event together,
Uh-huh.
speaking, you doing working with people on networking,
Yep.
training on that. And I talk about it's okay to be a late bloomer. So
Mhm.
we had a good time about 3 weeks ago, I think.
You did a
And
great job.
thank you. And we're in the middle of the event, and we're talking about career change, all that stuff. And
Mhm.
you stopped and said, "You know what, folks? Let's call this career evolution."
Mhm.
That's why I had to
Yeah,
find out if you came up with that title or not. So,
I did.
did you
Um,
follow somebody in that role?
so no, for that role, when I started working with Mike Regan, who is um, it used to be Regan and Company. Back
Oh,
when I
okay.
started with him, it was him, a couple client service managers, and I think he had 10 agents, and I fired half of them because they just happened to not be. They needed to be. I called it help coach them on the better career
Yes,
choices,
yes, yep.
and through us working together, we realized that my affinity is for really helping people realize what they're good at,
Mhm.
and empowering them to utilize those
And that's the
skills.
key part of it because you can tell people all day long what they would be good at. But
Right.
until they process that and they agree, "You know what? I am kinda good at that."
Mhm.
Then they'll make a move. But until
Right.
then, you can tell them all you
Yeah.
want, right? The people watching the show today, how would they know they're dealing with a client service rep and not the realtor themselves?
Because we tell them.
Okay,
Everything is about communication and explaining roles. So when I meet with a new buyer or a new seller, typically I like to have my client service manager there with me at the appointment so
gotcha.
they meet face to face. And then once they've met, they understand what my role is compared to my client service manager's role.
And there's a great benefit for them not only having 2 people, but to understand what each other does, and while the client service manager may or may not be a licensed realtor,
Oh, they are.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, they still need to know what their role in is in this, and they could really call either one of you to a
Yeah,
point.
yeah, and really that client service manager does the majority of my showings, they're
Mhm.
handling all the paperwork, they're keeping me organized, and they allow me to be in multiple places. So I'm
Yes.
heading to Florida in a few days.
Ooh. Did you get the invite, Amnon? I did not, so,
No.
yeah.
Um,
We'll edit this
and
down to
and
we'll edit
my
this down to 10 minutes,
so
yeah.
my clients will still be very well taken care
Yeah.
of even while I'm out of the country or state. I'm not.
Are you Are you one of those even on vacation, you're checking your phone and email, or do you put a time limit on that? We can go to the next question if that's gonna get
I,
you in trouble.
no,
Because some people can't disconnect.
I can disconnect.
Okay, all right.
Every few years, I like to go abroad
Mhm.
and disconnect and turn everything off for at least 11 days
Oh,
of
wow.
20. Yeah, like
Wow.
no, yes. But I prepare for that so people know
Yeah.
what's happening. One of the benefits of being at Hunter Row is that I have people who will cover
Mhm.
my back
Yep.
while I'm on vacation.
Mm.
So my broker in charge is awesome. And he'll, if I have offers coming in, if there's things that he needs to step in and take care of right away, I know that he's completely
Yeah.
capable of handling those things. And then my clients don't ever miss out on it.
They yes, they don't see, "Well, I haven't heard from anybody in 4 days," and all of a sudden there's a disconnect somewhere, and
Right.
then they're calling everybody.
They're probably annoyed that they hear from me too much.
I'm sensing not. I'm thinking most I would venture to say 80% of your clients probably are, "No, no, I haven't heard from you in a day or so," because they wanna get it done and make sure it gets sold.
Yeah.
So you're talking about traveling abroad. Tell us
Mhm.
again about the trip to Spain that the ladies helped pay for.
Oh, I
How old were
studied
you on that?
abroad. 19,
Okay.
20.
Right.
Yeah, that was my first time ever leaving the country, was getting on a plane to move away for 6 months.
But it was worth it.
Oh, I cried so hard when I had to get on
When
the
you
plane back and come home.
Mom, Dad, I love you, but I
Yeah.
really had fun here.
It
So
was, um, my advice to anyone in college is go ahead and utilize your
yes.
ability to study abroad. I learned more life. I had never ridden a bus. I'd never taken a taxi cab.
Really?
I didn't know how to read a train schedule. I did all of those things in Spanish for the first time.
Oh,
So
yeah.
now I figure, I
Yeah.
mean, if I can do everything for the first time in a different language that
Yeah.
I wasn't very good at speaking, then
And
everything else is pretty
nobody
easy.
you knew was on this studying abroad program you were on?
There were maybe 30 of us from my college that went over there,
Oh,
but we all lived in separate places.
okay.
So, yeah, they put us with a host. Um, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And one of the neat things about doing this show is every week that particular guest is usually the first of that's, never done that.
Yeah.
And I other than Ricky, who was born in Germany,
Yeah.
I don't know that we've had anybody that studied abroad, especially from Aquinas College in Michigan.
Yes, Aquinas.
Okay.
Mhm.
Are you a donor to the alumni fund?
Of course.
Or anybody moving to the Triangle, I'll list their
Uh-huh.
house. Take
Yeah.
5% off, but
Uh-huh.
not all
We
those
we
people.
have it was really weird because one of the things I would coach my agents to do was get a hold of your alumni group
Mhm.
because they're a great source of
Oh,
referrals.
yeah.
So we do. We have an alumni group that meets here, and I met a bunch of alum and my college is
How
tiny.
many? Yes.
There were maybe 40 of us at the
Really?
Umstead because you figure over the last 50 years, I
Yeah.
mean, I met people from all age brackets,
Yeah.
and it was really cool to talk about, and we all still had in common the same things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
One of the things I've enjoyed we've known each other for a couple months here that I enjoy watching you look at everybody looks at things different.
mhm,
And I can go on to Triangle BNI and I can pull up information on anybody in BNI, pretty much anybody in BNI I want to. And your goals are very specific. Most people
mhm,
sell more houses, travel more, whatever. But I'm going to tell you, here's what's down on here.
okay,
You can say on schedule, on
uh-huh,
so your goal is to have 45 closed transactions.
yes,
That's not knowing 45 people. That's making money off all 45 of those people.
yes,
Right. Okay. 11 million in sales.
mhm,
Are we on schedule?
we are on track,
Good. I like that.
yes,
The other and and also you want to give 400 referrals
yes,
and receive 200
yep,
referrals. All right. Again, if you've never been to a BNI meeting, we pass referrals to each other. We do not pass leads. It's not, yeah, my next door neighbor's complaining about his roof
mhm,
and he's just complaining about it. He doesn't want anybody to come over. But if you would say, yeah, I need to call my next door neighbor, Bill, tell him, I told you to call him and help him out. And then they
yeah,
call Bill and Bill goes, I'm good. I just complain about the roof. And the referral would be you talk to your neighbor, Bill, and Bill goes, yeah, I need to meet somebody. Somebody that works on roofs. Got that. Now you give that name out. That's a referral because
mhm,
business has been asked for.
right.
So 400 and 200. There's some chapters that don't do that by themselves. Right.
Yeah, so I've taught people how to work by referral for the last
Yep.
more years than I care to admit. We'll say 5, but really
Let's
like
go with that.
15, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
And I don't like, personally for my business, I don't consider it a referral unless there's an email introduction or a text
Yes.
introduction made.
And that's, yep.
So when I'm sending out a referral, you're gonna get an email from me or someone on my team saying, um, someone's looking for a pest guy.
Mhm.
Here's the email introduction, and I say something nice about each of you, and then I let you both go from there. So
Kind of
I'm
like I do with you and Robert. Ask him why you're called the honey badger.
yes,
Okay. Yes.
exactly. So that's um I'm ahead of schedule in how
Okay.
many referrals I'm giving out this year.
And I like the way you do with the email, a talking point
Yes.
when you first finally meet and like, hey, what do you do? And because
Mhm.
and the reason I put it in there for Robert about being a Gator is I just give him grief for being a Florida
Yes.
graduate because he was on a couple weeks ago and I purposely did not ask him. I never brought up Florida. I brought up where he got his bachelor degree from because he got his master's from Florida. And I will not say those words to a Florida Gator. Just won't do that. But like I said, I do love your the preparation and the goals you want to hit because you can say, "Oh, I just want to sell more houses." Yeah, what does that really mean?
Nope.
And when that number drives you, no, I don't want 44, I want
Mhm.
45.
Mhm.
And then most people are competitive. They don't know it. But if you put a hard number in front of them, they go like, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
Instead of everybody leaves a meeting, hey, we need to drive more sales.
Right.
And everybody looks around and goes, "Ugh, fired up to do that. And nothing gets done because there's no numbers.
Exactly.
And I know that's part of your, what kind of how you're wired is to
Yeah.
have those goals.
Having been a business coach for
Mhm.
many years, it's not a goal unless it's measurable.
Yes. Yeah.
So
No, I agree with you on that. I like your listed. Quit looking at my notes. All right.
I, I'm
Just look at,
I
look at the
am
screen on there.
competitive. I want to know before in
Quit cheating.
advance what's
No, no, no,
happening.
no. Should have written in small letters. Anyways, one of the things I like, I was trying to have the old guy big letters. I was told that earlier. The neat thing on your LinkedIn page is you describe yourself as your resource for all things real estate.
Yes.
All right. What all is included in that? That we may not, we may think, okay, the house, sell the house.
Mhm.
That's the only goal, but it's not.
Right.
And I know that's not you either.
I mean, it ties into my 400 outgoing referrals
Sure.
because when somebody needs a painter, when they need a
Mhm.
plumber, if they need a rental, if they're looking for commercial real estate, I want them contacting me first, and then
Mhm.
I can disseminate them to people that I know will take care of them.
Oh yeah.
My goal is to have nobody in my sphere come back and say, "Oh, I had a bad experience with XYZ."
Mhm. Yeah.
So if I can vet those people out, then that way I can connect them to great resources.
And I know one of the things that the good realtors do is you're asking for people who are not even listing their house tomorrow, but they think by August they're going to. You want to meet them that
Yes.
far out,
I
right?
wanna meet them as soon as they start potentially thinking about it,
Yeah.
because I've had, you know, walked into homes and they've painted the whole house in the wrong color and the wrong type of paint, and I'm like, "Ugh, now you have to redo, everything that you just spent money on or your
Yeah.
time." So the sooner I can get in there, the better. Same thing for my buyers. If I can get them
Yeah.
in front of Bobby Tudrick, who's my lender of my BNI group,
Yep.
then we're able to help them with the things that they never really considered in terms of like
Yep.
fixing their credit. And it might be the difference in like $5 or $6 in their payment, which doesn't seem like a whole lot, but over the course of their mortgage, it could
Mhm.
be a big difference.
Yeah.
Um,
And it truly is knowledge is king and
mhm,
information is king.
yeah,
That the more they know, it'll soothe their mind a little bit because most buyers and sellers aren't going to think of everything they need to do. Or like you said, those little things that'll make the difference.
right. And there's so many moving pieces that they need to hear things multiple times. I mean, I do this all day long. So for me, I always try to put myself in the shoes of
Yep.
they're not hearing the terminology. This isn't what they do every day. So I have to keep it very basic.
And you even have to go, and I know mortgage lenders do, but I'm sure you have the conversation with your potential buyers is don't go out and buy anything big right now.
Oh,
Just from the
yeah.
credit side. I know you got a couple stories, right? Leave out their names,
Yes.
but what's the most recent one? Like, I told you, don't go buy
So
2 cars.
personally with my clients, one of the best things about working by referral is that they listen to me.
Yes, you're the hero for
So
them, yeah.
yes, so my personal clients, fortunately, have not made any bad decisions. In the past, we've had people buy a car,
Mhm.
or what really gets my goat is you have people who are very they have a lot of cash. So they think, well, but I can get a discount if I go to, Best Buy and buy all my appliances, not realizing that's the hit to their credit. So
Yes.
that's why closings get delayed. So it's not necessarily because they didn't have the money or so. They went out and did something without realizing that it affected the underwriting on the backside.
If you
So
get alright, you said earlier you have a closing on one of your properties today.
no, I have multiple offers coming
Okay,
in
even
on
better.
one of my
That's the smile. Did you
listings.
catch that big smile?
Yeah.
How late is it? When can they buy something? When literally the closing and everything is done? Or does it get to the
They're
point
already under contract.
okay, but and I guess let me ask this the right way
Yeah.
here. If they went under so once a house is under or the offer's under contract, then they could go buy something or even then don't even mess with it then. Wait till it officially closes.
So it completely depends on the situation and the
Okay,
person. So the one I have today, we actually went out and found their house first and got them under contract
okay.
because I knew that their home was going to sell within a matter of
Yeah.
days. So if we would have put their house on the market, they wouldn't have had anywhere to go. So
Oh,
we
okay.
found their house that they have now is able to actually get them into a contingent offer, which most people don't like to do from a listing agent
Yes.
side.
Yeah.
But because of our reputation and the fact that I've sold my homes as not cheating. I saw you had it written down over there. But because we
Good.
sell our houses so
I hate
quickly.
young eyes on this show. I can barely
I
read it.
know.
Well, let's right the wrong here in a minute. Not that I did
Okay.
anything wrong, but we'll
Thanks.
right that ship here in a minute.
Yeah.
Can you, and I know you've had to get creative with people who are selling where they live and buying a house within the market here to
Yes.
get creative. Okay, because one has to happen before the next does, but we got to find a
Yes.
way to
To make the
limit that
timing work.
to like a day or whatever, a week or whatever it is.
Sometimes it makes sense that they move out and they rent. I have 2 clients doing
Oh,
that right
okay.
now. Sometimes it's a matter of timing it up so it's within a few days. Every client, it's based off of their situation.
Gotcha. Good.
So I just meet with them and figure out what makes the most sense, explain to them what their different options are, and then we go forward with a game plan.
More difficult, a seller or a buyer?
Hmm. I don't know. My clients all tell me that they're my hardest client. And as today, I don't feel like any of them have been. I think it's I love listings because there's more strategy that goes into it.
Oh, okay.
So, and I like being strategic
Yeah.
and helping people plan for things. Um, Buyer wise, I think it's just keeping them for my first time home buyers, it's keeping them emotionally in the game when they may have lost out on a couple of offers.
And that was my next question. What do as buyers, what do we think we know, but we really don't as far as the strategy part of it, pricing, all that stuff?
That there are 7 offers or 7 components to an offer, so price isn't necessarily always the winning factor in a great offer.
Okay.
You might have your due diligence amount, your closing date, your earnest money deposit. Like there are so many different factors. And one of the great things, like with my lenders, like I have my lender call that listing agent and tell them how awesome we are. So that listing agent is now hearing from me. They're hearing from my client service manager. They're
Yeah.
hearing from, and they're like, wow, these people have their ish together
Yeah.
and I really want to work with them.
Mm.
My relationship with that listing agent, if I can get a good rapport going with them and they know that we're going to be fun to work with, which I don't know, I think I'm kind of fun.
I would agree.
So those are the important things that often will beat out an offer that maybe even someone came in with a higher offer price, but we still win it.
Okay, so we'll do a whichever question again.
Mhm.
Which is the toughest client to have? The client who literally is buying for the first time,
Mhm.
or the buyer who's like, I've already bought 9 or 10 houses in the market. I know what I'm supposed to do.
Um, Neither. It's the unicorn hunters.
Please explain.
So in real estate, there are 3 pieces to buying a home. You have price, which is normally the piece that can't move,
Mhm.
right? You have location, and then you have amenities. So if you think of it as a
Oh,
bullseye
okay. Yeah.
and your location is in the center and you know your price point, well, you either have to go out of your location to get more amenities, or if
Yeah.
closer into a good location, less amenities. And it's like moving a little scale. Well, you have unicorn hunters who want all the amenities in the best location for the lowest price, and
Yeah.
those homes don't exist.
In
So you have
yeah.
to coach them through the fact that they're hunting for a unicorn.
Are they most likely coming to you with, "We want to live in this area," and then the price is negotiable, or they say 300, no higher than 300,000?
Right, and these are all the things that we want or
Yeah.
not want. These are all the things that we have to have. And I'm totally okay that if they're not a realistic buyer, then I just help them find their next
Yeah,
best
yeah.
home
There you go.
because not all clients are good clients.
Oh, yeah.
Just like, we there's how many people in the triangle?
Oh, yeah, million?
You can be picky. Yeah.
Yeah. Is what,
I
60?
only need 45 closed
Yeah, 60 a
transactions this year.
day is the last number I
Moving
heard.
in. Mhm.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Huh. Now, one of the neat things I like, okay, we talked about the timeline for a new client. You claim, miss, that, the average house for you guys is 4 days on the market.
Yes.
How do you do that?
My clients are awesome.
Need a little bit more information. How do you do
So,
that?
um, going back to strategy, we run an analysis. We find out what homes are selling for in the area. I figure out, are there areas for them to put some improvements into their home, whether it be prepping it better or areas where they're going to get a return on investment.
Okay.
So if there's capital improvements that they can put in, like granite or new floors or things like that, and then I give them the scenarios and show them actual data and say, hey, buyers buy and pay the most for what they love.
Yes.
Your
Oh, yeah.
biggest piece of negotiating power in real estate is time, right? So we want the lowest days
Yeah.
on market because people want, and competition is fantastic because
Oh,
if
yeah.
we're in a competitive situation, it makes all of our negotiating stronger.
What's the best bit of information a newish buyer needs from their realtor?
Um, One, that they need a realtor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Experience one. Yeah. It's
but a lot of times they'll go out and they will call a sign call. You might wind up with a great agent on the other side of that sign call,
mm,
or you may not. So 80% of people find their real estate agent by referral.
yes. I think I've heard you
So
say
it's
that before.
very, very important that they find a really good qualified person that they're going to work with, because that person's going to represent them, whether they buy new construction or they buy a home that was already built. But that representation is key. And a lot of times they don't realize that real estate agent is actually orchestrating the next 10 relationships that you're going to have.
Do buyers and sellers have any idea the stuff you do behind the scenes to keep things k to keep the timeline moving that may or may not that they may or may not need to know?
Yeah, I am like the Wizard of Oz. I've got a man behind the curtain,
Kurt,
behind
yep,
the curtain,
yep.
behind the yeah. So all the stuff, if there's, and through coaching my agents over all the years, I always say, I want them. It's like a two-way mirror.
Yes.
I want them seeing their smiling face back at themselves, not everything that's going on behind. If there's a problem, I don't ever want to be a martyr. So my goal is to solve anything, and they never feel it.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and it,
But that comes with the experience,
yeah,
that you bring to the table.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because 'cause you've seen, what's the insurance company? We insure it because 'cause we've seen it, farmers, yeah. You've
We
seen those
are
exact
farmers.
yeah.
Yeah.
But no, we call it's this, thank you,
Uh-huh.
because we've seen it all, and while you've not been a realtor that long, there's still a good bit in your book that you could write of, "Here's what I have seen, and here's how we
Oh, yeah.
resolve that." Yeah.
Right.
You even though you've been in BNI for 4 months? 3 months? Yeah. Start of the new year was it
3 months.
January? Okay, or
It's three
February?
months.
Okay.
Mhm.
You have your previous role at Hunter Rowe.
Uh-huh.
You were 4 years, 3 years in that role?
6.
Okay, before you became a realtor that what you're doing now? Okay,
Right. Yeah, I had my real estate license, but
yes,
I was referring my business in and working with my real estate agents to
yeah.
have them work that business.
Why the decision in 2019?
Well,
You have to pull your weight on that, it's like,
yeah.
"Yeah, 2 of us now," so
Um, the value of being in real estate is that I can build a business and scale it and
Mhm.
not have to work in the business for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
So, I loved recruiting, I loved coaching, but that was something that was going to be the same amount of work, if not more, as the company grows. And I really wanted something where I can spend time and really focus on things that are important to me outside of my career
yeah, and kickball.
and kickball.
What, what are the 2 or 3 things if a either seller or a buyer, should ask the realtor or know from the realtor? First of all, to know what they can expect, but second of all, to find out, does he or she really know what they're talking
Oh gosh, I have a list of questions. If anyone would like them, I can email them out because it's really important. There's statistical data that you're going to want to know. How many homes have they sold?
about?
If it's on the listing side, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, I have all of these listings. I don't care how many listings you have. I want to know how many of those listings
Yeah,
sold. So, how many listings did you take on versus how many actually sold? If they have a bunch of listings that they took and those expired or those clients terminated with them and they never sold them, then it's
yeah,
it's a it's a false number.
because there's
Um,
thousands of people with a real estate license.
Yes.
Most of them I've come to find out are part-time.
Yes.
And if you're gonna buy or sell a $300,000 house, I'd like you to have a little bit more, time in the market, so
Uh-huh. And I always want to know, even when I was hiring real estate agents, I was hiring people who had succeeded in past careers and
okay.
had a history of success. So, coming from the financial services world and then into real estate, a lot of people treat those careers as like their last ditch. So they're like, well, I haven't really succeeded at all these things. So I'm going to go get my real estate license because
Yes.
if you fog a mirror, you
Yeah,
can get a real estate
yeah.
license. And
Mm. I had
unfortunately,
one in Florida. I don't know if I should
yeah.
be impressed or pleased with myself or not.
So if
She's
you're
tough,
working,
isn't
I
she?
am very tough. That's why I'm called the honey
I
badger.
know, I know.
So if you are going to talk with a real estate agent, find out, if they were a top sales rep and were always promoted in their last career, then you know that they're going to be able to figure things out and apply that same skill
Yeah.
to real estate.
Is that when you went back when you were interviewing and training realtors and they came from a completely different industry, is that the one thing you needed to know if they that they would be successful in real estate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would look at what have they done in the past and how did they persevere through that? Were they the person that was getting promotions and coming up with new roles for
Gotcha.
themselves? And what problem solving did they have in their day-to-day job? Because if they've never been, um, we have a lot of conflict in real estate,
Yeah.
believe it or
Yeah.
not. And how do they handle conflict? Because if their first inclination is to run from conflict, their clients are going to be miserable. Because the reason that most people don't hear back from their real estate agent is because that real estate agent has no idea how to deliver the bad news that's coming or to guide them through something when they're having an emotional attachment to
Yeah.
it. So if somebody came to me and they, were a teacher or they were, a volunteer firefighter, they've handled stress.
Oh,
Well,
first responder,
yeah,
sure,
like,
yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, you have the makings already of a person who can do problem solving." And then it's just a matter of taking that skill and having them learn how to apply it to real estate.
Mhm. Do you remember your first transaction?
Um,
And which side would it likely have been on
I
at
mean, I
that
remember
stage?
the first time I bought a house.
Okay. Well, as a
But as
realtor,
a
yeah,
no, because I helped so many of my agents with
mhm,
all of their clients
yeah.
and it was very long ago. So no, I don't remember who the very first one was.
The resources that a business the size of Hunter Row and the
Uh-huh.
how established they are, the referrals they get, and everybody knows, their place in the realtor world.
Right.
Um, is it difficult versus somebody so you work for Hunter Row, Amnon works for himself.
Mhm.
Who might what do I need to hear from each of you that tells me? Because he's gonna say, "Hey, you'll only get me, you're my main," but
Mhm.
you bring plenty of resources to the table, right?
Um Uh, I'll tell you what, it's like when I'm picking any vendor or person I'm partnering with, if they're a one-man show,
Mhm.
I appreciate their, passion for providing all of the service themselves. But what happens when you wanna go on vacation? What happens when you wanna spend time with your grandbaby?
Hey, every day. Yep.
And everybody deserves to be very well taken care of and also to be able to go out and have a life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my clients are really respectful of my time.
But I'm sure you set that in part of your first or second meeting with them about expectations, though, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is you'll do anything for them, but 3 days in April, you're gonna be gone,
Yeah.
but you always get this person
Right.
to deal so there will be no break in
There's no break
any
in
yeah,
service. Right.
okay. And thank you for mentioning Oliver. I make it a point each week to find
He's
a way
so
to get him in
cute.
the story. And, he got his first pair he'll be 9 months old on Friday, and he got his first pair of tennis shoes, and they're Air Jordan. I'm 57, and I'd never owned a pair of Air Jordans. The dude's not even 9 months old. So, now I know what I'm gonna ask my son to get me for Christmas, my own
Air
Air
Jordans.
Jordan, yeah.
Do they
What
make them in your size?
ouch, gee.
I was gonna
She's
say
very
something
shy.
worse.
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna get to that. I think I'm a nix that. Yes, they make them in 57s. Yeah, age-wise, yes, okay? But I'm not about to pay 120 bucks for a pair of shoes. I'm just not going to, so.
That's funny.
You say you not really convinced me that you're shy, but why do you think you're shy?
Because I am. So there's a big difference between I'm very extroverted. I love humans.
Yes.
I love meeting new people, but that initial walking into a room of strangers, I could think of nothing more terrifying than yeah. It's just the first time I went to visit the BNI group, I called I mean, I interviewed a bunch like, I talked to a bunch of people before I went because I needed to know that I was gonna know a few faces
Mhm.
before I walked in there because I wanted to, like, puke.
It makes a difference. No, I'm
Yeah,
with you on that.
yeah.
And once I heard you had passed Joe's first wave of interviews,
Uh-huh.
I knew you were there
He's a
because
tough
he
cookie.
is, but he knows what the chapter needs.
Yes.
And he structured you guys are wired the same way in how
Mhm.
you approach the business for your clients and your fellow BNI members.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I once he told me that, he goes, Trinity, she's my first pick now. And I told you that when I
Mhm.
first met you.
Yeah,
The fact that he told me that about you, that's all I need to know.
yeah,
So,
and he's the reason that I even entertained the
mhm.
idea.
Yep.
So,
No, I love it.
yeah.
I love it. One of your many strengths in the chapter, you're on the membership committee, is
Mhm.
you've invited 20 people in the 11 weeks that you've been in there. Most people have trouble doing that. What's the secret to explaining to a point what it is, but just trying to get them in the
Mhm.
door?
Um, it's not hard to bring visitors, but you have to know. So you said I invited 20. I didn't. I probably invited 60.
Even better.
So to get a number, if I know I set goals. One of my goals is to have two on average two visitors per week.
Mhm,
In order to do that, I invite 4 to 5 people, knowing that one probably will have something come up and they can't make it.
mhm.
And I'm always thinking through whose next presentation's coming up. How can I invite people that are going to benefit from meeting members of my group? And I don't invite them with the anticipation that they're going to be a member. I invite them because I know that there's a mutual benefit
Mhm. Yeah.
because not everybody can join a BNI or work during, take off an hour and a half
Mhm.
every week. But them coming and meeting the people, my members of my group, I mean, they're referring business back and forth. I'm getting success
Yeah.
stories, they're finding value in it. I think being able to explain that to people and take the pressure off them,
Yep.
and they're not like, oh, this is some cult that's trying
Yeah.
to,
Trust me. Yeah. Yeah.
recruit me. And then they're like, and they come and everybody's friendly
Just
and
trying to make
they're,
you richer. Work with me
yeah,
for a day, for an
yeah.
hour one day,
Uh-huh.
so like that. One of the neat things another reason why I recommend people should at least visit a BNI chapter,
Hmm.
is that not only will they find, the quality other quality small business owners, but they're gonna see what each chapter has a good mix of business people, but also they are seen out and valuable to the community with all the different things they bring to, different parts of the community that you may not.
Yep.
You do your part of ATB Spark.
Yes.
Talk about that for a minute, because that always brightens your face up when you talk about
um, in addition to BNI, I like to do networking, but I have never been a huge fan of walking into a big room and everybody's passing out their business card.
that. Yeah.
When I talk to people about going to networking events, I always joke around that I have on a pair of pants and I have two pockets back there. I have my left pocket and my right pocket. And when I meet people, I'm determining do they go in the left pocket or the right
Mhm.
pocket?
Yeah.
Is this a person I want to follow up with, or is this a person that I just want to throw their card in the trash? Um, and when I so that's why I would dread going to these networking meetings.
Oh, you hear stories all the time. People come out of those, "I gave away
Yeah.
60 business
Yeah,
cards."
like,
And a
ugh.
month later, yeah, didn't hear
Yeah.
back from any of them.
So
So
I wanted to create a networking group that was based on value. So something where I could build value within my community, where I could bring together people that I handpick that I think
Mhm.
are the best at what they do, and then have them teach and share with others that want to learn from them. So ATB Spark was started and it's gone through a couple of reiterations because, like with anything that you're growing,
Yeah.
the way that it looks when I started it is it's gonna look different a year from now, it'll look different
Oh, yeah.
5 years from now. Hopefully better different, but and that group has a different theme every month that we talk about. So, this month we're talking about how to create multiple income
Yeah.
streams. So, I'm gonna have 3 or 4 guest speakers who come in who have expertise in different areas of creating multiple income streams, and we sit down and we have a really good discussion about it.
but it's with a purpose, and that's what separates
Yes.
it from,
Very.
"Hey, I'm just trying to get 50 people together on the 3rd Tuesday of every month or 4th
Yep.
Wednesday, and we're just kinda sitting around and chat
Mhm.
at a bar."
Right.
Nothing against going to bars on Wednesday nights, but there's no purpose, there's no structure, um, or agenda or anything like that.
Right.
People just show up and we may talk and you and I may talk and,
Mhm.
I don't remember her from she was there, oh, I was there," and there's no purpose on that. So
Right.
that's what I like about this group.
Yeah, it's very structured, but it's not as structured as BNI.
Correct, yeah. But like I said, it serves its purpose, and that's
Yeah,
why
and my BNI team crushes it in there. I mean, they come to those meetings and they're able to meet people who might not be able to come to our group during the day,
yes,
and
yeah,
then I'm able to feature them as speakers during my event. So anything
yeah,
that I can do to give,
yeah.
if I give out 100 things, I'll get enough back.
You just need 45,
I
right?
just need for
I
that,
like
yeah.
it.
Giver's
You'll
gain,
give
yes.
900 away to get 45. I think
Uh-huh,
most people do that.
yeah.
I like that because most of the people in BNI, there's a reason why they're there. And these other events probably has piqued some interest for people who weren't going to go. They saw what that's like. You know what? I think next Wednesday or next Thursday, I'm going to come see your
Gonna
group. Yeah,
right.
I like
Yep.
that. Goals for the rest of 2019. You're on schedule with most everything you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I keep adding more goals.
Well, and I was just going to say, the more you add, 2020 is going to look like, oh my God, I got to
Yeah.
do these numbers.
Um, so real estate wise, I feel really good about where I'm at.
Good.
I started adding in a personal development goal. So I love to read and I like to read 1 to 2 business books
Mhm.
per month. But I also made myself a goal to read something for fun.
Good.
So that way
Mhm.
I'm balanced.
Yep.
And that was really important to put some personal goals in
Mhm.
there
Right.
since I can tend to get very hyper focused on just business.
And now that you're in a BNI group, what have you learned? You've been in there 3 months.
Mhm.
What have you learned for the next 3 months? "Okay, I figured this out. I like this. I should do more of this." And you're always gonna learn something like, "Okay, I'll put that on the
Mhm.
list, but I'm gonna move it down a little bit."
Um, the one-to-ones with my team members, with
Mhm.
my BNI group are vitally important.
Yes.
Um, and I love the synergy with what you helped us with, which was getting our power teams together.
Yes. Yep.
So our power
It
team
matters, yeah.
has I mean, I've seen everyone in my group just really step up and just up their game, whether it's the way that they're sending referrals or how much referrals they're sending back and forth. Um, keeping the energy high
Yeah.
and not being the only person leading that charge has been great because I'm very high energy, even though I'm shy.
Hey, I still don't believe you, but go ahead with your story.
um, and I can only, if I'm always the one putting forth the energy, it's going to start to feel like a dictatorship.
Hmm?
And I'm so proud of my team because they're starting to bring more guests. Scott
Yes.
Sams, who actually does my real estate signs,
Huge.
he's awesome and he is coming to get me. I don't know if you have his number written down, but he has been bringing a ton of guests. And I
Oh,
was
yeah.
like, oh, he's going
Yeah,
to beat me.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
like that because I'm full disclosure here, I'm the consulting director for Trinity's chapter,
Hmm.
and there was a little bit of turnover at the first of the year, which led to
Yep.
the realtor seat being open,
Yep.
and you do not need to comment on this. Um, but there was a change in about the first of the year on things. A couple of new people, like with you,
Hmm.
some instant energy came into the room, and then the people who were I don't wanna say they weren't doing enough, maybe thought they were, and all of a sudden they get a load of this new energy, it's like and their numbers,
Yeah.
not gonna go into names on that, but
Hmm.
it's that you're right about new energy anywhere
Yeah.
and purposed energy, and it's made a huge difference in your chapter. Up 6 people since the first of the year,
Hmm.
6 members,
Yep.
and little things like that, but it just builds on itself. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, 2 more people get fully engaged, and then 4 more get engaged. All of a sudden, you're looking around the room, it's like, man, everybody's bringing stuff every Thursday.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of that had to do and most people well, actually, I do, and most people in BNI do as well, that I've told all the chapters, as your realtor goes, so goes your chapter.
Right.
Because do they get you 1 buyer, and you can turn that into 6 to 8 referrals off of
All day
1 buyer,
long.
yeah.
Yes.
And
Yep.
so if they feed the realtor,
Right.
everybody's gonna win that.
Yes.
And there are chapters who will always remain as 12 people because they're not feeding the realtor.
Right.
Because just one.
We're the point of the arrow.
Oh, yeah.
And on that arrow, every time a house is sold, there are 30 to 60 people that benefit from that
Oh, okay.
sale. Oh, it's way more than just So, if you think about it, I have 10 to 12 people that are involved in a transaction just to get it closed, for my inspectors, plumbers,
Yeah.
lender. And that's just between the time that we go under contract and the time that we get to the closing table. And then you have all of the things that happen after
Yep.
they move into the home. Their locksmith, their carpets getting cleaned, it's
would repaint some,
right,
yeah.
painting. I mean, there are so many opportunities for me to refer
Oh,
out
yeah.
business
Yeah.
that it just was a natural fit.
And is it everything before the sale goes through is pretty much by law has to be done? The inspector, I mean, a lot of things by law have to be done. Not the painter,
They don't.
not the carpet cleaner.
Clients don't have to have an inspection.
True.
Yeah.
They're done
But
not to.
I highly recommend it.
Oh,
Yeah.
why would a buyer not? Oh my gosh.
No, the bank requires an appraisal.
Yeah.
Yeah. The home inspection is
Peace of mind.
yeah.
But you
Yeah. Yep. They
yeah,
don't
but
have
you
to.
wanna
Yeah.
know, I'd like to see somebody look underneath the house and in the attic and all that, yeah. But again, the more they feed you, that 45 is
Yeah.
gonna turn into 60,
Yep.
and then you do that times 30. Look at 900 people
Yeah, and
in the course of
my
a year. Yeah,
clients fortunately come back to me and they
that's
refer. So when and I keep very detailed records. So when somebody refers something to me,
yeah.
I know who referred it, who referred that person to me, and I'm trailing it back. So if when Bobby refers me someone, I make sure that every future referral that comes from that client goes back to him.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And, same thing with my insurance agents and my
Mhm.
financial advisors. Like I am making sure that because when they come to an event and they meet somebody,
Yep.
it's pretty cool because
Oh,
they
yeah.
come to an event and they're like, "Oh, I've talked to you on the phone." And then it turns out that these 5 people all know each other.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
What is the one thing a realtor can do to lose that client who the transaction has not gone through?
Um, Bad communication
Okay.
is typically the number one reason that a client would leave an agent. They're not hearing from them frequently enough. A lot of agents make assumptions.
Mhm.
What is that thing?
Yeah,
To
it
make an
makes a
assume
yeah,
is to
it
make an
makes a
ass of you and me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And if you are assuming anything with your clients, there's opportunity that they're going to feel like they're not being served.
yeah.
So, my coaching background has really helped me with my client retention because I
Got it, yeah,
ask a lot of questions of my clients to really figure out what is it that they want. If they tell me I want a big yard, I'm like, okay, well, what are you going to use in that big yard?
yeah.
Tell me what you do. What are your hobbies? And they're like, why do you care what my hobbies are? I'm like, well, because if they like to go out and putt around, like literally, like they
Mhm.
want to use their yard as putting green, they probably shouldn't have a wooded backyard.
True. Yeah.
So I always say, you need to ask the second, the third, the fifth question to really figure out what it is that they mean.
'Cause a lot of times what they have in their mind is not really what they're looking for. They think it is, but 5 questions later, they look at you and go, "Huh,
Huh.
hadn't thought of that."
Yeah,
And then you
exactly.
got them.
Right.
And then they know you're involved in making sure they have a successful transaction and get what
Exactly.
they want.
Yep.
We are here today with Trinity Gregor from Hunter Row. Please give Trinity a call if you or someone you know getting ready to buy or sell a house, but more importantly, if they're thinking about it. The
Yes.
day they tell somebody, "You know what? We're gonna start our search for that," and so Trinity will take good care of you. We will track your numbers the rest of the year since you're one of the few people that
Thank
has
you.
that, and we've, had a good time having you on the show today. Hopefully, some business will come out of this, and you join us next week on Triangle BNI for another successful small business story.
Woohoo.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.